Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Astro, AWANI, for having me here.
I'd like to begin, if I may, with, I guess, situating Bhutan in terms of global development. Help us understand where Bhutan sits in terms of the global development. Is it a developing country? How far has it come along? I understand democracy is about slightly more than a decade old in
Indeed,
Bhutan.
Yes. Bhutan was once upon a time referred to as the last Shangri-La. Yes, but it is a historical, geographical reality situated up in the Himalayas. We call our country the jewel of the Himalayas, Bhutan. The national language describes Bhutan as Drukyul. It was also called Menjong, the land of medicinal herbs. Sits in the north of India, in the south of the Tibetan Autonomous Region of China. A small country, 150 kilometers north-south and 300 kilometers east-west.
It's like the size of Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken.
I would think so,
oh,
yes.
Wow, okay, all right. And as mountainous.
Yes, indeed.
And if I could interject, it was also, I think, very famous for people who traveled, and I know you're a well-traveled man within your own country. That's as part of your tagline, as it were. It was a country that wasn't as accessible to global tourism. It's something that people will talk about, that you would have to apply or wait for years to get a visa into Bhutan. Of course, that's all changed. And could you help us understand this change? Why is it that Bhutan sought to open its doors and to even change internally? What was the impetus for that?
Bhutan is, in fact, a very ancient country. It's an old country dating back to several centuries into history. And for many years, till about the middle of the last century, Bhutan remained in what we call self-imposed isolation. Didn't really have much interaction with the world beyond. It was a difficult policy, but it was a wise policy. Our kings ensured that Bhutan remained an independent country, a sovereign country, pursuing our own way of life and developing our own worldview. So for a long time, we remained in a kind of self-chosen isolation. But somewhere in the middle of the last century, when the world around was trying to reconfigure itself after the Second World War, and the Britishers left India, there is also the time when Bhutan's third king, His Majesty Gyalpo Jigme Dorje Wangchuk, thought that Bhutan would have to look around and look beyond, and it started, Bhutan started opening up, and now we are a member of many international organizations, including the United Nations organization, and following its own unique development path, otherwise called gross national happiness.
And that is unique in itself, right? So you chose to use this economic measure as opposed to what's more commonly accepted, the GDP, the gross development ratio, so percentage. So explain to us, how do you measure the gross national happiness in terms of, as an economic indicator? What are the pillars that make up this index?
We believe that every nation ought to have its own North Star, as indeed every individual man, woman, and child ought to have their own dream. So for Bhutan, the North Star was identified by our fourth king, His Majesty Gyalpo Jigme Singye Wangchuk. He was very young when he became king, in his teens. But as young as he was in his body, he was very wise, has been very wise, and visionary as a king. He led Bhutan and brought it right to the 21st century. His Majesty looked around as a young king to see as to how Bhutan's development, Bhutan's progress may be seen. A lot of people around the world, in fact most countries around the world, use the conventional economics-based materials-determined yardstick called gross domestic product.
Oh yes, sorry, yes.
However, gross domestic product tells only a part of the story of development. It doesn't tell the full story. In life, we need not only material well-being, but there are also multiple levels, multiple elements that make us who we are. But GDP does not look into these non-economic, non-material dimensions of our life. And it also doesn't go beyond economics when it looks at societal development, societal progress. So His Majesty the Fourth King decided that for Bhutan, we have to adopt a much more holistic, a better integrated, broader-based development path, and he gave the name Gross National Happiness.
All right, we have just 1 minute before we go to a break. How much of that conversation was dispersed in society? How much of it is an elite-driven agenda versus a popular agenda? People feeling that they wanted, as you say, a North Star, a moral compass that was different from the rest of the world.
In Bhutan, we revere our king. The institution of the monarchy is extremely important for Bhutan. It is the principle of national cohesion, monarchy. It is the principle of national unity. So we meet in the king, and the king speaks for the nation as a whole. The king, the position of the king, His Majesty, the king's position as the monarch of the country is one of a unifier. We look up to the king as a symbol of national unity. So for the Bhutanese people, the presence and the role of His Majesty the King is extremely important as a guide and as somebody who provides the moral direction for the country. The actual governance of the country is done by an elected government. His Majesty is the head of state, represents the country as a symbol of our nationhood. So it is not so much of a question of the people having to really come to terms with the institution of monarchy. The institution of monarchy is a reality. It is a felt experience, and the institution is deeply revered by the people. Political parties and governments will come and go, yes, with changes in time. But beyond the vagaries of politics and populist movements, the institution of monarchy will continue as the stabilizing force, as a force of unity, stability, and continuity for the Kingdom of Bhutan.
Okay, we're going to continue our look at the Kingdom of Bhutan after this on Consider This, so stay tuned.